I know it doesn't seem like it based off of the way the season ended, but the Jets were actually in a different spot, or in a decent spot, I should say, more than halfway through last season. Sure, Zach Wilson was sucking to hell, and Jets fans and the Jets coaching staff, the Jets organization was trying to convince themselves that Mike White was going to be any type of fucking answer. How dumb can you be there? But the Jets were sitting at 7-4. Like, they were in a pretty good position. You say, okay, win 3 or 4 more games, get to 10-7 or 11-6, and a playoff appearance is possible, if not likely. And instead, they went in a different direction, and they lost their last 6 games, and ended up missing the playoffs, and wow, right? Just wow. And that season was a disaster for a variety of different things. You know, the fact that they lost their last 6 games. The fact that Zach Wilson did nothing to show that he was progressing, nothing to show that he was improving, nothing to show anyone that he deserved any type of confidence that he could be the long-term answer at the quarterback position. Then you have the head coach, Robert Saleh, sitting there and managing the quarterback position like a fucking idiot. Like a fucking idiot. I'm going to repeat that. Like a fucking idiot. You needed to allow Zach Wilson, no matter, even like when you talk about the New England game, and no. Like, that was a head coach that was panicking, that wasn't thinking of the big picture, and he rolled craps. Period. That's it. He deserves all types of criticism, as does Zach Wilson, as does that team for rolling over and playing dead the last 6 weeks of the year. They all do. They all fucking contributed to that gag job. So there were a lot of questions about this Jets team in the offseason, what was going to happen with Zach Wilson, the assumption being he's not going to be back, he's not part of the picture. But who are they going to bring in as a veteran quarterback? Well, they certainly brought in a veteran quarterback, didn't they? They went and made a trade with the Green Bay Packers a couple of days before the draft and brought in Aaron Rodgers, doing absolutely nothing to defeat the Brett Favre allegations by saying, hey, after playing 15 plus years in Green Bay, I'm going to go to the Jets. And think about that. Aaron Rodgers said, that's where I want to go. Boy, oh boy. If you have your choice of many places to go to play football, imagine being bold enough to say, I choose the Jets. That's where I want to go. Yikes. But he did, and they made it happen, right? And they got to work in the offseason trying to put more offensive pieces around him. They signed Allen Lazard. They signed Randall Cobb, certainly as a personal favorite, Aaron Rodgers. Brought in Mecole Hardman. Got side-swiped a little bit with the news that Corey Davis was going to step away from football. That certainly wasn't in the cards. But in the past few weeks, they signed Dalvin Cook to add to that backfield, assuming Breece Hall will be healthy at some point in time this year. You've got Dalvin Cook and Breece Hall. That's a pretty damn good 1-2 combination in the backfield. And then you look at the draft. They brought in an edge rusher like Will McDonald to a team that was able to rush the passer pretty effectively last year. Joe Tippmann, the center from Wisconsin, in round 2. Carter Warren, giving them more offensive line depth. Didn't do that bad in the draft considering where they were at, but that draft was mostly about the picks that you needed to be able to go get Aaron Rodgers. And at least I'll say this. The Jets are saying they fucked up with Zach Wilson, and they're going in a different direction. And at least they didn't just say, hey, we're going to bring in Aaron Rodgers, and that's all we need. They realized that they needed more. They needed more. Now, do I feel like they went quite all in like the Bucs did a few years ago when they were bringing in like Gronk and Antonio Brown? No, it's not at that level. But maybe in Jets world, this is what they classify as going all in. But certainly an improved team from last year. How much will remain to be seen, and we won't find out until the season starts and gets underway. In terms of things I like about this team, I mentioned their pass defense. You have guys like Quinnen Williams up front. He's just a monster. And then you've got Sauce Gardner. He's a stud at corner, defensive rookie of the year. And you look at him and you say, this is a guy that I love his approach to playing corner. Is if you get handsy and grabby every single time, they're not going to call a penalty on you every single time. You'll be able to get away with a lot of shit. It's a pretty nice coverage philosophy if you can get away with it, and he does. But that pass defense, their pass rush should be effective again this year. You look at the running game, aforementioned Dalvin Cook and Breece Hall, like, this is a good unit. They'll be able to gain some yards on the ground. And when you think about some of the things Green Bay did the past few years with Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, this is kind of their version of that. Feels a little different in terms of the talents themselves, but you've got a 1-2 punch at running back, and you're going to want to do that. And then you look at Aaron Rodgers. You know, he was mid in Green Bay last year. There's no spin around that. But he's not that far removed from back-to-back MVP seasons, and when you look at Aaron Rodgers, even mid, compared to what they had last year, Zach Wilson and Mike White, it is a massive upgrade. So they definitely got better at the quarterback position for 2023. In terms of things that I question about this team, I look at their offensive line, and I say, what happens if Mekhi Becton goes down with yet another injury? What if Avera Tucker goes down with injury? You know, I don't know if I like the depth on the offensive line behind their starters. I don't think it's the best unit we're going to see, like how well they hold up. But that offensive line is going to be really important. And then I look at the receiving core. Yes, they've got Garrett Wilson. He's a stud. They lost Corey Davis due to stepping away from the game. Allen Lazard, okay, I guess. Maybe. How much do you think Cobb and Hardman are really going to give you? What do you really have at tight end? I still think, you know, outside of Wilson, like I said, who's a stud, I don't see where this receiving core with New York is that much different or better than what the Packers had in 2022, which was part of the damn problem there for Rodgers. I don't get it. Especially because they brought a couple of guys from that receiving core from Green Bay to New York. Or New Jersey, or whatever the hell you want to say, the Jets. And then the other question mark to me is Aaron Rodgers. Is he just along for the ride? Like, it's easy to assume that he's going to play better this year, and I think he is going to play better. But how much better? Like, you bring in a guy like Aaron Rodgers, you don't want him to be a game manager. He can't be a game manager. You know, if they want to be able to bang with the big boys in the AFC, Aaron Rodgers has to be Aaron effing Rodgers. And I don't know if he can be that again. We're going to find out, like I said. And when you look at this Jets team and their schedule, they're getting tested early. You're going to find a lot out about them in that first 6 weeks. They host Buffalo, go to Dallas, host the Patriots and the Chiefs, go to Denver, host Philadelphia. There's some damn good matchups right there. Plus, they play the Patriots. But 4 of those first 6 at home. Like, if the Jets get through that stretch at 3-3 or 4-2, that's not bad. It really isn't when you look at the toughness of that schedule. And then as you go through and get towards the end of the season, like if the Jets are in a spot with a few weeks left that they're 7-7 or 8-6, they might be sitting pretty because their last 3 matchups are against Washington, then they're at Cleveland, and they're at New England. All 3 of those potentially winnable games. When I think about the Jets, you know, it's like Aaron Rodgers makes you think they could be a whole lot better than they actually were last year. And I say he'll make them a little bit better. I don't think he makes all the difference in the world, but they will be better. I can certainly see the Jets making the playoffs. I think they're a 10-win team. I don't think of him as being good enough to be able to win this division. Crazier shit has happened. But, you know, it takes one injury to Aaron Rodgers and the whole thing goes sideways for the Jets. But I think they will be better. I think they'll be a playoff team. I just don't think they have enough to get over Buffalo in that division.